What's going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best sword with shield and greatsword build in Throne of Liberty. This setup will focus on the strengths of both of these weapons for a ton of HP and heavy attack chance. When you get the fully completed gear, you will have one of the best AoE farming potentials in the game, because of passives like the Spectrum of Agony and active skills that can work off each other, such as the Frost Cleaving and Ice Tornado. So in a summary, if you want to be super tanky but at the same time do insane amount of AoE damage, then this is the build for you. So let's move over to the gear, and I will split this section into two parts. In the next 30 seconds I will cover the leveling gear, so what you want to use until level 50. And then in the second part we will take a closer look at the fully completed endgame build and how it will work, as getting to level 50 takes just few hours, so I won't spend too much time in here. But in general, everyone starts with green uncommon gear, then at some point switches it out to the blue rare gear, and finally in the endgame they fully get their epic purple gear. Depending on how fast you level and what specific activities you do, this progression will vary from player to player. But the most important things you need to keep in mind is that wearing green gear while leveling is completely fine. As you progress further into the game, you will gather more gear with additional stats, which will boost your raw damage, which is exactly what you want to focus on. It's also more costly to use traits on them, so don't worry about it. Just simply keep leveling and slowly transition to the blue gear and focus on the same stats that I will mention in the endgame build. So here we have the endgame setup, and you're feel free to click the link in the description to check it out on the website. And don't forget that this will take some time to farm, so before you get the best of the best, you can simply use similar low level purple gear with similar stats like we have right here. So first off, for the weapons I've chosen the sword and shield and the greatsword, and specifically I'm using the Nirma's Corruption sword with traits like the hit, heavy attack chance and the critical hit. Then for resonance trait we have the cooldown speed, and for runes on the attack we have the skill damage boost. Then on support the incoming heal, and for defense the max health. Next we have the Adentus Barbaric Blade with traits like the hit, heavy attack chance and the critical hit. Then for resonance trait we have the cooldown speed, and for runes on the attack we have the skill damage boost. Then on support the incoming heal, and for defense the max health. Next we have the General's Fury Headguard with traits like the max health, cooldown speed and the melee endurance. And for resonance trait we have the max health. Then for cloak we have the Commandant's Grandeur with max health, skill damage resistance and debuff duration. And as we have the same max health resonance trait on all of our gear, so I will stop mentioning it, but keep on using it. Then for chest we have the Grand General's Unbeaten Armor with traits like the melee endurance, ranged endurance and max health. Next we have the General's Frenzy Gloves with the attack speed, max health and melee endurance. Then we have the Grand General's Invincibility Gaiters with traits like the max health, ranged endurance and melee endurance. Then we have the Reaper's Footsteps with move speed, ranged endurance and magic endurance. Then for necklace we have the Abyss Conqueror's Necklace with max health, skill damage boost and buff duration. And for runes on the attack we have the Boss Melee Critical Hit. Then on defense the max health, and on support the incoming heal. Next we have the Beast King's Gilded Bracers with traits like the max health, skill damage resistance and debuff duration. And for runes on the support we have the Amitoi Health. Then on defense the max health, and on the attack the Boss Melee Critical Hit. Next we have the Transcendent Magic Ring with buff duration, skill damage boost and mana regen. And for traits we got on the attack the Boss Melee Critical Hit, then on defense the max health, and on support the incoming heal. Next we have the Insightful Ring of Dimension with traits like the max health, buff duration and skill damage boost. Then for runes on the attack we have the Boss Melee Critical Hit, then on defense the max health, and on the support the incoming heal. And finally for the last piece we have the Butcher's Belt with traits like the max health, skill damage resistance and debuff duration. And for runes on the support we have the Amitoi Health, then on defense the max health, and on the attack the Boss Melee Critical Hit. Next up we have our attributes, And as you can see here, the white numbers are the ones that we are using from the start. Then the blue numbers are the ones I've allocated manually, and then the green points are the ones we get from our gear. Overall, we have 50 stat points to distribute however we want, and gear gives additional stat points that you cannot change. It's free to reset the stat points at any time, so that you can respect whenever you need to. For our build, the main priority is strength and dexterity. So our first goal in the mid-game is to reach 50 strength. For PVE, you care mainly about maximum damage output and health, so put points into the strength, which will give us 100 heavy attack chance, as well as additional HP. Then next we want to hit 30 dexterity, for increased crit chance, evasion and attack speed. Then for our third goal we want to get to 30 wisdom, for easy max mana and cooldown speed. And finally, in the endgame with purple gear and respecking, we want to reach 70 strength, 31 dexterity, 30 wisdom and 40 perception. All of these numbers will vary depending on your gear and level. At the beginning, just follow the 3 previous goals I said, and then slowly keep getting more points. And this is how it should look like at the full completion. Next we have our skills, and for defense, we want to get the shield survival technique. And then for active skills, the Gaia Crash, Shield Strike, Valiant Brawl, Annihilation Slash, Da Vinci's Courage, Devastating Tornado, Provoking Roar, Counter Barrier, Chain Hook, Stalwart Bastion, Strategic Crush and the Will Breaker. And lastly, for a few skills, I need to explain them a bit further. So as you can see from the gameplay, I don't have the skills icons on my bar. It is because the skill icons can change depending on the specific skill specialization we use. So Gaia Crash will turn into the Frost Cleaving, then the Shield Strike turns into the Piercing Attack, then Valiant Brawl turns into the Cruel Smite, and Devastating Tornado turns into the Ice Tornado. You will see these spells change whenever we equip the specific skill specializations that I will show you in just a second. And then on the other hand, for passive skills, we have selected the Robust Constitution, Vital Force, Raging Frenzy, Resilient Mind, Spectrum of Agony, Aegis Shield, Morale Boost and Impenetrable. Next we will quickly look into the skill priority, and we want to use quality and rare marine ore to craft quality and rare passive skills and active skill growth books. I recommend to prioritize getting all of these skills to blue first, before getting them to purple. And then for the rest of your skills, they're not as important, so just upgrade them as you progress through the game. And for active skills, the main priority is Shield Strike and the Shield Survival Technique. Then a passive skill called the Robust Constitution. Then one more active skill, the Da Vinci's Courage. Then again a passive called the Resilient Mind. Then 2 more active skills called the Counter Barrier and the Stalwart Bastion. And then finally, for the last passive skill, we have the Aegis Shield. Next we have our skill specialization, which will change, modify and upgrade our skills. So on Gaia Crash we will get all of these 3. So the Frost Cleaving, Attack Speed and Critical Hit. Then on Valiant Brawl, the Cruel Smite. Then on Counter Barrier, the additional damage boost. Then for Strategic Crush, we don't select anything. Then for Da Vinci's Courage, we get the duration, damage reduction and instant healing. Next we have the Provoking Roar, and we get the effect duration, cooldown and bonus damage. Then for Shield Strike, we get the Piercing Attack. Then for Annihilation Slash, we get the consecutive use and range. Then for Stalwart Bastion, we don't get anything. Then for Will Breaker, we get the damage area change and evasion. Then for Devastating Tornado, we get the Ice Tornado, resistance, cooldown and bonus damage. And finally for Chain Hook, we don't select anything. And on top of this, I will explain these skills and how to use them in the gameplay part. So next up we have the Weapon Mastery, and here is the setup for the sword and shield. First of all, we start with a skillful block, and get everything in the middle until the Undefeated Perseverance. Then we go down to the bottom and get the max health and melee hit. And then lastly, we go all the way to the top and get everything starting from the melee defense until the Indomitable Spirit. And then for Greatsword, we start with the Skilled Vitality and go to the top to get everything from melee hit until the Fierce Attack, and then go all the way to the top and start selecting everything from range defense until the Firm Will. And now for the last and final build part, we have the Guardians. These are special transformations that add offensive or defensive buffs or even special attacks to your character for 30 seconds. And the best two choices is the Lady Knight Camarcia. This Guardian lowers your cooldowns while also giving you a damage shield equal to 50% of your maximum mana. This is a strong defensive Guardian whenever you're struggling to survive. Or then the other option is the Shade Remnant Steno. This Guardian launches projectiles every second that can crit and heavy attack. Since our build is great at close quarter fighting, so this guy works perfectly for our playstyle. And now finally we have come to the gameplay part. So at the beginning of every fight, we start our AoE combo by activating the Da Vinci's Courage, and then we do huge AoE damage by using the Willbreaker, Provoking Roar, Frost Cleaving, Annihilation Slash, and then we finish it off with the Ice Tornado. And while we wait for our skills to come back up, in between we can use the Cruel Smite and Piercing Attack for spammable skills, and then we rinse and repeat. So in a quick summary, the Frost Cleaving and Ice Tornado are your basic two big AoE skills. Then the Cruel Smite and Piercing Attacks are your two spammable attacks that could be placed in rotation for amazing cleave damage. Then Da Vinci's Courage is our only buff, which adds damage reduction and adds attack speed for entire combo. Then as for Willbreaker, because of our specialization, this became a full AoE skill that lowers the defenses of all the mobs around you. We can also use Strategic Rush to reset your cooldowns alongside the Morale Boost passive. And finally, for our two most important passives, we have the Morale Boost, which is used to reduce the cooldowns of your skills when using the Collusion skill, and then the Raging Frenzy, that provides a significant skill damage boost depending on the mobs that are around you, and that's about it. So if you enjoyed this video, click like, subscribe and comment, and if you're interested in more content then check out my channel, and I will see you in the next one, so take it easy, peace.